everyone, welcome back. I'm Kara Sundlin, and Eric is off today. Many of President Trump's executive orders are not sitting well with Connecticut's Attorney General, who has collaborated with other attorneys general from across the nation to fight them in court. And Attorney General William Tong is joining me in Studio A today to go over this. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
So there have been a flurry. I mean, so many, it's hard to keep up with all the executive orders. Yeah. Is there one you're most concerned about, or what are you trying to do?
So I'm most concerned about the impact on people in Connecticut. No matter who the president is, my job is to protect Connecticut families. And right now, the biggest threat to Connecticut families is Donald Trump and this administration, right? He's talked about, for example, mass deportation, but what we're getting is mass layoffs and unemployment. Every day I hear from nonprofits, people here in Connecticut who are laying people off, losing their jobs. Federal workers who live in Connecticut are losing their jobs. We're hearing that he's going to cut half of the manpower of the FBI. And if these funding cuts go through, already we have funding freezes, but if these funding cuts go through, people in Connecticut, thousands of people, state employees, people who do business with the state, people who work for nonprofits and rely on state funding, thousands of people are going to lose their jobs here in Connecticut, and that's going to impact so many families across our state.
I mean, I think a lot of people are hearing executive orders, federal employees, they think, oh, that's just D.C., and that's not the case. A lot of these employees live in other states, including here in Connecticut.
Sure, not only do they live here, but they're part of a family. Right? So when you attack or lay off one person in a family, a wife, a husband, a son or daughter, that impacts the entire family. Mm-hmm. That impacts their income, that impacts their ability to put food on the table, to pay the mortgage. It impacts their ability to function. And so it's the same is true, by the way, about immigrants, right? He's going after immigrants and he's focused on undocumented people. But in every household in America in which there's an undocumented person, in 70% of those households, you have people of mixed status. You have citizens, U.S. citizen children, people with temporary status, people with green cards. And so when you go after one person and you lay them off, or you deport them, or you deny them benefits, it impacts everybody in the household.
So for those who may be fearful of losing their job due to federal funding, what's the time frame of these lawsuits? Is there any way that you see of this helping get people their jobs back in any kind of rapid fashion?
So we've moved as quickly as possible to stop these actions, and we've been successful so far. So for example, on the birthright citizenship executive order, he issued that order at 8 p.m. on his very first day back in office. We sued on Tuesday. We got a temporary restraining order on Thursday. Now we have a preliminary injunction, mm-hmm. which is a strong block and stop. It's a check and a balance on his effort to do something that's totally unconstitutional and unlawful. And just yesterday, the Ninth Circuit, the U.S. Court of Appeals, and the Ninth Circuit refused to stay that order and kept that in place. So birthright citizenship continues to mean what it's always meant, which is if you're born in America on American soil, like me, you're an American citizen. When he tried to freeze all federal funding, that was also on a Monday. We sued on a Tuesday. We got a temporary restraining order on a Friday, and I was in federal court on that as well.
So also, where you may not be realizing impact, at least here in Connecticut, we have UConn, we have Yale. Yeah. A lot of, you're saying, the money that comes from the federal government for research in the areas of health may impact Connecticut as well? Again,
talk about mass layoffs and unemployment. We rely on the National Institutes of Health and Research grants at UConn, at Yale, at all research institutions and facilities across Connecticut for medical research. It employs a heck of a lot of people. It's a big part of growth here in Connecticut and economic development and economic growth. And by the way, didn't we just come through a global pandemic? And so now you're going to slash research into medical research, medicine, healthcare. What will we do if there's another pandemic? How will we respond? Will we be able to do Operation Warp Speed like President Trump will tell you he did in his first term? Would we be able to develop a vaccine quickly as we did the first time? I'm guessing not, right? If we cut our legs out from underneath us and we're unable to respond.
So also, what about federal student loans? I'm a parent filling out the FAFSA now. There is a little disclaimer up at the top saying we're not sure how certain things are going to affect certain things. Do people need to worry at all about education funding?
Sure, of course, because he has said that he wants to shut down the Department of Education completely, that he's hiring Connecticut's own Linda McMahon to go in there and put herself out of a job. So not just student loans, not just FAFSA. If there's nobody there to turn on the lights and run the computers and process applications and support the student loan system that supports millions of American students and families, then we don't have anything. And on top of that, you've got Title I, you've got special education, teachers, schools. He's defunding schools. He's defunding colleges and universities. He's defunding education, and he's defunding the police.
So we obviously have a split country. 50% of people voted for President Trump, want government waste taken away. How do you see that we bridge that with needing to cut some waste and do some things differently, but not have the negative impact? Does Congress need to get together in our final minute together?
Yeah.
This is a crystal ball question, but how do we get what people want, which is to maybe root out waste, but not permanently hurt certain programs?
We all want that, and we do that every single day here in Connecticut at the state level, and we should all focus on waste, fraud, and abuse, and in the Office of the Attorney General, we're focused on it with some of our authority, for example, our false claims authority, right, to make sure that the state of Connecticut isn't defrauded. But you have to do so in compliance with the law. You can't send an unelected billionaire with his army of hackers and wannabe stormtroopers to tear up the federal government and give them access to our Social Security numbers, to important sensitive taxpayer data that the IRS has. That's unsafe and it's wrong, and you can't do it by violating the law.
So, Attorney General, thank you for being on. I know this is the beginning of many, as this is, when you're talking about legal channels, it could take a while, so we will keep in touch with you to see how all of this plays out and affects the people living here and paying taxes in Connecticut.
Thanks, Kara.
Thanks for being with us.